Good morning. Going to say good morning to Hennig and Wrecking, who just joined us over on Instagram. Great to see you guys. I love your work. I admire you from afar. Good morning, everyone. Weren't we just here? Weren't we here like 5 minutes ago? Feels like it. Let me rattle through the chat. I know Dan Cullen was doing the countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have liftoff. We have liftoff indeed. Good to be back. It's like I've never been away. Steve Williamson is in the house. Good morning. Good morning to Andy Hare up at Northern Track. Morning all. So close to Friday, I can taste it. Yeah, feels like a long week. You put an extra show in. Certainly from my point of view, put an extra show in. It does seem to prolong the week. Mark Whiting's here. Good morning, Mr. Mark Whiting. How the devil are you doing? Gary Muirhead says, good morning, Mark. Good morning, gang. Another fantastic show last night. Very informative and entertaining. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much indeed, Gary. Have to say, thoroughly enjoyed last night. And just to save you asking, I did indeed make it all the way to the airport, and I was there before my good lady. Well, that's not strictly true. She was there before I was, but she had to wait for bags to arrive, so I was okay. Not a problem at all. And as far as I know, no speeding tickets, but I should be watching the post with interest. Mick Norton is here. Good morning, Mick. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Jim Turner is here as well. Morning, Jim. Gary Muirhead says, wasn't sure about asking him about the jumbo, but he answered it well. I think Gilles answered everything well, actually. I'm not going to ask you to do this, but I've been thinking back over this show, and I think it does seem to be that Gilles, Tim Burnhope, and I think Mike Keogh as well, all seem to be very, very popular guests. So yeah, I think he did a fantastic. And bearing in mind, Gilles did it all in a second language. Obviously, he is of the French persuasion, but he did it all in the second language and did it very, very well indeed. Dan Cullen, did you get to the airport in time? I did. And just to prove it, she's here. She's back. And she's freezing cold. Great news, no fine. And Gary Muirhead says, good morning, Ruth. Welcome home. Yes, he is a very informative guy. He really is. I actually, you ever meet anyone in your life when you're going about your business and you just think, I'm going to get on with you. I first met Gilles in Japan. Never met him before. And I went there. He was obviously representing Caterpillar. I was there kind of working with Caterpillar, but I'd never met him before. And he was working with a guy at the time called Roger Tonys. Roger's since moved on to other things, still within Caterpillar, but he's moved on to other things. But the pair of them were just such fantastic company. And yeah, here we are. What is that? Nearly 6 years later, and still in touch with Gilles. And I think he did a fantastic job. One thing that did occur to me while I was listening to that last night, though, somebody asked about the I can't remember who it was. It may have been Al Grierson was asking about whether the Caterpillar are looking at something in the same vein as the K100 system, or from Komatsu, obviously, or an oil quick change for the boom. Apparently, they're not. He was asked about electrification, hydrogenization. Obviously, Caterpillar have more than enough capability to do it. But as it stands at the moment, they're not. So it set me thinking: are Caterpillar just basically biding their time and they're just going to take over the world, or has all of this technology given others, like for example Komatsu, Volvo, Bobcat, has it given their moment in the spotlight, in the sunshine, where they can bring innovation to pass? Very interesting to think. Dan Cullen says, morning, Mrs. Anthony. Now time to relax the British summer, which could be winter. Yes, indeed. Although she has returned to a back garden, is freshly trimmed. Yes, I did get it done. Dan says, yes, it was out, and he was well spoken about the K100. Yeah. I mean, I think Gilles is too classy a guy to sit there and insult or deride anything that Komatsu are doing, because Komatsu do what they do very well, very, very well. But yeah, interesting to see that they're not doing it. But I do think I try to keep my finger on the pulse of what all the various manufacturers are up to. But the number of new products that they put into the market over the last 12 months, I thought was incredibly impressive. And some of them have gone under my radar, actually, I have to say. Chris Ford is here as well. Chris, just a very quick reminder, I do need to get from you your postal address. If you can let me have that via WhatsApp or something, then I can get your prize in the post to you. Jim Turner says, yes, they're all great, very knowledgeable, and truly enthusiastic about the industry they're in. And that's what makes them so interesting. The geniusness, I'm not sure that's a word, but I know what you're saying. The geniusness shines through like your good self. Good Lord, Jim, what are you after? I've not got any money. I'm sorry. Front garden trim now? Yeah, that's got to be done. Can't beat a trimmed bush, says Chris Ford. Almost predictably at this point. Thank you very much. I wouldn't be surprised if Caterpillar was working on something massive in the background. No, me either. Me either. And bearing in mind, you know, the capabilities that Caterpillar have got and just the sheer magnitude. And I also thought it was quite interesting. Obviously, I think we all know that Caterpillar is an American company, but they've got or pretty much all of their attachments business in the Netherlands because they bought who did they buy? Varactet back in the day. So late. I was going to say late 80s. It wasn't. It was early 90s. They bought Varactet and they kept all of the capabilities there, but then they've expanded it and expanded it and expanded it. And then also the fact that an American company, all of their demolition excavators built in Japan. Yeah, all very interesting stuff. Do you really need to be changing booms on site? See, now there's another point. I have to say, I was. It was one of those things when Al brought up the K100. I was sat here thinking, that's a bit of a dodgy question. And when Gilles said they don't have an equivalent, I was sat here thinking, well, maybe Caterpillar are missing a trick. But then when Gilles said, how many times do you change a boom? I was sat here thinking, do you know what? He's got a point, you know. He's definitely got a point. Caterpillar and all the other brands are developing all the time. The new things we see, they've already planned it years ago. You know, that's one of the things I find most interesting, and one of the reasons that I've sort of put pen to paper on a couple of occasions, charting the progress. It kind of reminds me of what we had with Mike Keogh last week on the midweek show, where he was talking about a blast. The blast itself takes 8 to 10 seconds, but there's been months and quite possibly years in the planning. And you think about a new excavator. So, for example, Volvo have just brought out what is ostensibly their F series. They're not calling it that, but it's their F series. You'd have to think there's a little dark room somewhere where somebody is beavering away on what the G series probably or the G family will look like because they don't stand still. Okay. Genuineness. I misread. I thought he said, yes, you're right. You did say genuineness. Still not sure it's a word, but genuineness, not geniusness. I'm having trouble with my mouth today. Ken Hatcher has just joined this morning. Ken, thank you very much indeed for being here. I love the way he answered his questions with a definite yes or no, not pussyfooting around it. No, he didn't. No, absolutely. And I think that's, in some ways, I find that quite refreshing because Caterpillar, of all the companies that I work with, they are very, 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 very corporate. You know, they have very, very strict ways of doing things, and yet, you, as Jim has said, Gilles came across as just perfectly genuine. More than happy to engage. So fantastic. I wonder how much they say they have with machines made in Japan. Quite a bit, I think. Quite a bit, because obviously they are coming this way, and a lot of them are built to European standards and stuff. So yeah, quite a bit, I think. He was very fair and detailed with his answers, and not blasting other brands. No, he didn't. I think when you're Caterpillar, you don't need to. You know, it's like the lion on the Serengeti. Does he really need to be worried what the sparrow in the tree is up to? Probably not. Probably not. Now, we have other stuff to get through today. Plenty of other stuff. In fact, we've got a couple of fairly long films. We've got one of about 5 minutes. We've got one of about 7 minutes. So I think we better crack on because we're 11 minutes into the show and I haven't pressed a button yet. A trip to Japan, maybe in the bag, Mark. Listen. Of all the places I've ever been, if I had to choose one to go back to, that would be it. It just, in every sense of the word, just one of the most memorable trips. And it's little things, you know. I mean, even I know this sounds really ridiculous, but we were stood on the train station waiting for the bullet train to take us from Kobe down to Tokyo. and they had a vending machine. I thought, I'll grab myself a cold coffee. Well, there was about 107 different varieties, all mobile phone operated, and just everything just completely slick, just unbelievable. And just loved everything about it. And when you're going along at 300 miles an hour on a train, and you see Mount Fuji going past in the distance, you're having a good day. You really are having a good day. Let's have a look. So if they're saving on that, why not compare the prices? Seems all machines are made in Japan, China. Well, here is a bit of an answer. Caterpillar bought Mitsubishi excavators, so they have a lot of say. Yes, they do. They most certainly do. Do you still have your Walk and Talk podcast from Japan? Yes, it's still available, as is the book that went with it. All very available. If I get a chance, well, as I say, we've got a couple of fairly long videos today. I'll try and find that very episode, and I'll drop the link in the chat, because I'd like to do that again. Funnily enough, I was listening to a podcast yesterday where a guy was literally doing the same thing, and I thought, I miss that. I do miss that. Not something that everybody's seen. I wouldn't do it necessarily for, I don't know, Hillhead or something like that. But when you get to one of these less well-known or less easily accessible locations, it'd be nice to do one of those. The cat arena at ConExpo was amazing. I could have sat and watched that all day. Yeah, I kind of did. Right. Anyway, all of that, we'll come back to that. So we do need to do that thing which is where I say I'm going to roll the intro, post the question of the day, and get this show on the road. Here we go. I am going to say a very good morning to Jonathan Duras, who has just joined us. You've got the question of the day over in the chat there. Something's just gone very squiffy over on one of my other screens, but yeah, no, we seem to be back on. Just to let you know, there was almost no light on today's show. The light that I'm looking at right now freaked out a lot this morning. I thought I was going to be doing this in darkness, or I thought I was going to have to open the blind instead, but no, we made it through. So it is Wednesday, the 19th of June. Well, no, it's not. No, it's not. It's Thursday, the 20th of June. Let me try it again. Good morning. It's Wednesday. No, forget it. It's Thursday, the 20th of June. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. Nobody noticed that, did they? I am your host, Mark Anthony, the Walrus of Demolition. In today's show, a first look at the new electric duck from Volvo. A Canadian bridge falls to the might of Priestly Demolition. The new wheel loaders from Case, and we get up close with the latest compact track loader from Develon. Plus, MB Crusher is in the mood to take Hillhead 2024 by storm. However, before we get to all of that, we do have that small matter, very small matter, of today's mystery machine. Right, mystery machine. Just to let you know, I have just posted the link to my podcast on Japan. It was called A Japanese Adventure. You can see the link in the chat. So, what do we... apropos of nothing, Dan Cullen says, has anyone ever had custard with porridge? Tasty. How? Why? When? How do you come to have custard with porridge? Was there an accident involved? Did you pour the wrong thing in the wrong thing? Did you set out to do that deliberately? What a weird thing. But if it tastes good, why the hell not? Now, Jim Turner says, whether it's a plant game or cars, bikes, games, consoles, or whatever, the manufacturers are sort of selling the same thing in various configurations. It's all a trade-off between usefulness, price, reliability, and longevity. So they always need another trick up their sleeve for the new model, or bring out something totally different and corner the market for a while until the rest of the gang join in. Very, very true indeed. Yes, going back to porridge with custard, Steve says, why? Why, Dan? Why? What possessed you? Right, today's mystery machine, which I was about to talk about, looks like that. Yes. There's probably the best part of an hour or more of this show to go, but I think we've already got the comment of the day. Gary Muirhead says, Dan, I wouldn't like to clean your cage out in the morning, mate. Neither would I. Neither would I. We've already had the first guess on our mystery machine, which comes from the porridge and custard aficionado, Mr. Cullen, who says a cat D11. Tis not. You just want me to say it in that camp voice, don't you? No, Jim, it is not a Shantway dozer. It really is. Is it a cat 814K? It is none of those things. Keep the guesses coming in. And while you're doing that, let me very quickly remind you of today's question of the day. Yeah, our question of today comes once again from our resident quizmaster, Mr. Gary Muirhead. And his question is this: what is the best costume you have ever worn to a party? Now, these days, somebody said to me, costume party or fancy dress party, I would run a mile. I would rather shit in my own hand and clap. But back in the day, yeah, anybody said fancy dress party, I was all over that. And for some reason, I always seem to go for a uniform of some kind. Air Force, mainly because my granddad was in the Air Force, but Army, Navy, all of those things, always a uniform. Now, they say you are living out a fantasy when you choose your fancy dress costume. So, people, without giving too much away about your inner personalities, what fantasy were you living out and what did you wear? What is the best costume you've ever worn to a party? Let us know in the chat. I'm going to throw this back up on the stage because we have lots and lots of answers, and I can tell you now, none of them are right. Jonathan Duras is going with a cat D6 dozer. Tis not. Steve is going with a Komatsu dozer. It is not one of those either. Is it the Komatsu D39 EXI-24? Very specific. Very wrong. Gary Muirhead is going for the cat D6E. It is not. Cat D5 next gen. No, it is not. Let me show you a little bit more. See if this helps. Nah, that doesn't help at all, does it? Doesn't help at all. Right, we'll keep the guesses coming in, and don't forget, let us know what is the best costume. What is the best costume you've ever worn, or best costume you've ever seen? I'm going to tell you a very quick story, and then I promise, start the show. You've heard me talking about a guy called John Woodward, ex of C&D Consultancy, working with Mike Keogh. He's been on this show in the past, but John is one of the nicest guys you could ever wish to meet, and he's married to a lovely lady called Jill. Well, when John and Jill were dating, long before they were married, they were invited to a fancy dress party, and John went around to collect Jill and knocked on the door, and Jill's flatmate looked out the window and said, John's here, and he's in costume. And Jill said, what does he come as? And her response was, the four tops, all four of them. So John was decked out in, glittery suit and flares and everything else, but he had attached to him via broomstick 4 other dummies that were all dressed the same. And when he walked, they walked. He went to a fancy dress party as the 4 tops. All 4 of them. Now, that is commitment to your cause. Let's have a very quick look before I actually start the show. Look, that's what we've got to work with at the moment. And New Holland D255. It is not one of those. No, but keep the guesses coming. So let's crack on, shall we, with a bit of Now, this answer from Steve Williamson is not right, but I'm glad to see he knows his history. He has suggested it might be an international TD25. It's not, but good knowledge, Steve. Good knowledge, dredged from the annals of history, but not right. But you know, it's a fantastic guess nonetheless. Right. You all know Volvo have got lots of new excavators out. One of which we haven't talked about so far, and that is a new rubber duck. In fact, it's an electric rubber duck, and it looks a bit like this.
I'm Mark Engels. I'm the Global Product Manager for wheeled excavators in the factory in Germany, in Kals. This is the electrical version of the standard EWR 150. In fact, as you can see, it's mostly the same parts. We've did some modifications, some improvements. We stretched the two-piece boom longer. We can reach a bit further. We can lift a bit more. All those features have, of course, while introducing that into the electrical version, we made it, of course, adapted it to the new standards. We didn't want to go with a reworked one, taking out the diesel engine and putting an electrical motor in it. We completely reworked the machine. So this is the complete machine where you know that when you charge it overnight, we have tested it last week, it works a full day. And with a full day working, I mean traveling, I mean heavy digging, truck loading, and even grading, which is of course light work, but people do that with it. And of course, depending on the work you do, if you start traveling with it for hours, of course, you will consume more electricity than when you do something else. Than when you start grading. That's light duty. That's the way, but it will last the whole day. That's the message. This machine, for me personally, I think it's for a customer who takes out the machine in the morning, repairs something in the city, and returns in the evening. So it's like it's an easy way of recharging your machine. You don't need any boxes or whatever or energy at the job site, because in the evening you come back, there's a job to do. So like communities or those type of customers, which is ideal for these machines. The plan is to build the machine from the summer of 2025 available at the first needed countries first, and then available for everyone. And in 2026 it will be like any other machine, a full production machine like anything else. The reason why it takes 1 year is that now the production line in Kals will be adapted to take and diesels and electrical at the same time. But as you can understand the difference in those two machines, it takes a lot of time to modify the fabrication line to take them all at the same time.
I will go back to the mystery machine, because we do have a 99% correct answer, so I'm going to let it slide, but I'll go back to that in just a moment. One of the things that struck me about that when I was looking at that machine, and I personally think this is a classy thing, there is a temptation, I think, to scream and shout about electrification. If you notice that the design of electric cars, they're always a bit weird looking. You look at electric construction equipment, there is a temptation to make them look different, or to have lots of green panels on them, or make them completely green. Not Volvo. Volvo just make it look exactly the same. It's got the same lines, same classy feel to it. It just happens to be electric. So, mystery machine. As I say, the person that's got that I'm going to give the nod to hasn't got it exactly right, but it's close enough. So I'm going to go with that. So Jim Turner reckoned it might be a John Deere. Steve Williamson says looks too yellow for a cat. He did say cat, I promise. Dan has gone for the 450G from John Deere. It is not. Gary went for the Cat D6C forestry dozer. And then Dan Cullen said it's the Cat D4C. Well, it's not, but it is. It is, in fact, just a straight Cat D4. But I'm not going to quibble about it, because, that I'm not a quibbly type of guy. Obviously, that is a restored model, but that is the original Cat D4 from way, way, way back in the day. But it is the Cat D4, and what a fine looking machine it is. And yes, I do wonder, if looking at that, whether that is actually genuine cat yellow, whether that's a slightly spoofy photograph. But yes, it is a cat default. Well spotted, Mr. Cullen. I would say hats off to you, but you've got plenty of hats. I don't want you to do all of them at once because there will be an avalanche. So I'm just going to move on from that. But well done, Mr. Cullen. You got the right answer. Mostly. We are going to be talking Develon in just a moment, compact track loaders, for a full 7 minutes. So if you can, grab yourself a drink, sit back, and I'll be right back after this.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
Yes, Develon. Compact track loaders. Obviously, Develon are going to be at Hillhead next week. My guess, I don't know, but my guess is they will be concentrating mainly on their bigger equipment, like the wheel loaders and the excavators. But who knows? Maybe their compact track loaders may put in an appearance. If so, this is the kind of thing you'll be looking at.
Hello, my name is Dylan Freeman, Product Manager for Compact Track Loaders here at Develon in North America. Sitting behind me is our first ever Develon Compact Track Loader, the DTL35. Today, I'll be going over some of the key features and benefits that make the DTL a versatile machine excellent for landscaping, land clearing, agricultural production, and construction. While we do our walk around, key takeaways to remember today are premium features without the premium price, more standard equipment than the competition, and versatility that comes from a well-rounded machine. To start off, I'll be going over some of the key specs that make our DTL capable for any job site. The DTL comes in at an operating weight of 12,785 pounds. This is a heavy machine, and because of that, the operator can expect a sturdy and stable working environment. With all that weight, we needed a powerful engine, so the DTL is equipped with our in-house 3.4-liter Develon diesel engine with an output of 115.3 horsepower. The rated operating capacity at 35% of the tipping load is 3,806 pounds, and this actually can be increased to 4,000 pounds by applying the optional 300 pounds of counterweights. Staying on the topic of lifting, the DTL35 has a max lift height to the hinge pins of 129.1 inches. And offers the furthest dump reach of any CTL in its class, 12% more than the next closest competitor. With a maximum dump reach of 46.3 inches, the operator can lift and dump into a triaxle dump truck and ensure that the material is placed into the center of the dump bed. Moving to the hydraulics of this machine, the DTL35 has a max rated flow rate of 40 gallons per minute on high flow packages, giving the operator the versatility to connect to almost any high flow attachment on the market. Lastly, the DTL35 has a max travel speed of 9.2 miles per hour, making the DTL amongst the fastest CTL in its class. This allows for the operator to quickly and efficiently move around any job site. Now that we have covered some of the key specs, we'll be going over the premium standard equipment and features that make the DTL35 a tremendous value. Starting in the front, all machines will come standard with a hydraulic quick coupler. This allows the operator to switch between attachments without having to exit the cab. This will keep the operator out of the way of any hazards on a busy job site. Next is the torsion axle suspension system. This allows for a smoother ride than rigid-mounted CTLs and allows for the tracks to maintain better contact with the ground when operating on uneven terrains. Maximizing the track-to-ground contact optimizes the power being transferred to the ground and keeps the operator in a safe working position. Moving to the rear of the machine, all units will be standard with a rear view camera, providing additional visibility and safety. The operator will be able to see what is behind them at all times on the 8-inch LCD monitor. Opening the rear gate, you can see there's plenty of room to service this machine. The cooling module can also be raised to provide even more access to the engine compartment. Underneath the radiator is a cooling fan, which is reversible. Another standard premium feature, this allows the machine to blow off any debris that has accumulated, allowing for optimal cooling and less manual cleaning of debris. Now we will head into the cab. The first thing you will notice is the 1/2-inch thick polycarbonate door. Polycarbonate is much stronger than traditional glass and will not shatter on impact from debris. Once inside, notice how spacious the cabin is. Every DTL is equipped with air ride seat suspension, heated seats, adjustable lap bars, heat and AC, a 12-volt plug, and a USB port. All units come standard with radio and Bluetooth, which is built into the 8-inch touchscreen LCD monitor. With electric over hydraulic controls, the joystick sensitivity, pattern, and button functions can be configured in the settings in the LCD monitor. Each operator can tailor their controls to their individual preference. There is also an adjustable creep speed located on the joystick. This allows the machine to move slowly while operating at full RPMs. The last set of premium standard functions that we will cover are what we refer to as our Smart Assist functions. These include auto level up and down. This is great for pallet forks, keeping your forks level as you raise and lower your arms. Auto return to dig and attachment positioner. You're able to set where you would like for the arms and attachments to automatically return to after a full raise and dump action is performed. Bucket shake. With the touch of a button, the operator can ensure the full load of material is fully emptied from the bucket. And ride control, which turns the arms into shock absorbers. While traveling, this will reduce shock to the operator and help reduce material spillage while traveling with a full bucket. Now that we have covered the standard premium functions and features, you may be wondering, is there anything left that we can offer as options? The answer is yes. There are a few additional options that are great additions to continue to make your DTL a versatile piece of equipment. First, we have the optional AVM system, which stands for Around View Monitoring. This gives you 2 additional cameras. The AVM system will stitch together the input from all 3 cameras, giving you a 270-degree field of view. Then, the AVM system comes with ultrasonic sensors. They act like your car's backup alarm. It will detect when you're getting close to an object and beep at you. Not only does it provide an audible alert, but it will also place a marker on whatever object you are nearing. Other options include a rotating beacon, 2 different track widths, narrow at 15.7 inches and wide at 17.7 inches, 2 different track patterns, multi-bar or block pattern, and as mentioned earlier, 300 pounds of additional counterweight. So now you may be wondering, what good is this machine without any attachments? Currently, we offer 13 different Develon branded attachments in various sizes, with plans to continue to add to this attachment lineup. Finally, you get peace of mind with our standard Develon warranty. This 3-year, 5,000-hour warranty includes factory-backed part and labor coverage, as specified by Develon. Covered components are also fully backed by Develon, and your standard warranty is transferable if you ever decide to sell or trade in your machine. Without having to break the bank, operators are able to tackle any project while maintaining a comfortable and safe working environment. To learn more about the DTL35, please visit our website at na.develon-ce.com. Schedule a demo with your local dealer to see firsthand the standard premium features and capable power that makes the Develon DTL35 a versatile piece of equipment for any job site.
Right, we'll come back to that in just a moment. Bow Magazine Online. Love your work, fellas. They are watching us over on Instagram, all the way from Germany. Let's have a look. What have we got? I know Dan Cullen was very, very quick off the mark with that. I'll come back to Jim Turner's comment in just a moment. Oh my, says Dan. That is so damn hot. Good. Steve is a little sat on the fence, which maybe is about as hard as the seat that he's talking about. I wonder if the seat in that is as rock hard like the Dash 7 excavators. It's a point I don't know the answer to. Wow, that's great horsepower for a machine that size, says Dan Cullen. Jonathan Duras says, are Bobcats still part of Develon? It's a complex family tree, this one. In actual fact, Develon and Bobcat are both owned by Hyundai, or Hyundai. Shantway? Hyundai. Yes, they are both owned by Hyundai, but they've been kind of, they operate autonomously, even more so now, following Doosan switching its name to Develon. That was part of the idea, was to make it, to put it over there and to allow it to do its own thing. But yes, they are both owned by Hyundai. Why 9.2 miles an hour? Why not make it an even 10 miles an hour? I don't know the answer to that, but it's a good question. When are these Lecky machines, and henceforth anything electric will be called a Lecky machine, going to have more solar panels, paint wrap on them, or hydraulically powered charging systems on the dump side of the hydraulics? Then power would be truly green. You have to think it's only a matter of time. And I think that's, I've used this expression before, and I'm really, really fond of it. Electric machines, hydrogen machines, in-cab technology, AI, all of those things. This is the worst that it will ever be. It will only improve, because that is the nature of the beast. So yes, I would like to think that there will be more ways to extract power from the sun and from the machine itself in the very near future. Reverse fans should be standard on all construction vehicles, I think, says Steve. I think that came up in conversation last night, actually, and I totally agree with you. Dan reckons that is well kitted out. Jonathan Duras reckons they are nice looking machines. Have to agree. Yeah, have to agree. I don't know, we're not that big on things like compact track loaders here, but maybe we should be. Maybe we should be. Chris Ford says, like the idea of the bucket shake, that will test the quick hitch. Yeah, absolutely. Do we need that? Going back to the conversation we had at the very top of the show, talking about the K100, and I think the K100 system is incredibly good. I really do. Do we need it? And do we need a button for bucket shake? What's wrong with a bit of jiggly? Isn't that how you keep your wrists limber? I don't know. Wow, wide tracks, a transferable warranty. Wonder how many offer that. Not many, I would suggest. And then Jim Turner says, swap the extra weight for a rear toolbar and scarifier. If it's not an option now, I'm sure it will be at some point in the future. All good stuff. Well done to the fine folks at Develon. Yes, Develon. Should we crack on? I think we probably should. We need a bit of this, because we've got some bridge demolition coming up in a moment, and it's really good. I've said this before, but there are. I watch the demolition world from afar, and there are some companies that I have enormous admiration for. In France, Cardem. In Italy, Despe. In Australia, Liberty. And in Canada, Priestly. Priestly is kind of Armac, only Canadian, because they do bridge demolition like this.
We are out here at the Deerfoot Improvement Project. This project consists of the demolition of 3 bridges. So it's actually divided in 5 phases. Tonight we're doing phase 1, which is the southbound of bridge BF 207. And that bridge is the southbound lanes of Deerfoot Trail.
Tonight we're going to start here at 11 p.m. and if all goes well, get the span down tonight and get everything's wrapped up in about 40 hours. Henderson Road is closed for Friday at 11 p.m. till Monday at 4 in the morning. Our time is of the essence here, so the machine's going to be running 24 hours a day to get this completed on time.
morning on Friday night. We have 5 machines going at it right now. 4 50 tons and 1 340 cat at 30 ton. And it's a pretty hard structure, but we're getting through it. So.
Really heavy hitter operators coming out to do this job. Last night they got to it at about 11 p.m. They're right down to the final drop right now on the major span stretching across this bridge. The day shift is now starting up, which I'll be heading off with Kevin Hickman. And our job is going to be to come in, finish off whatever's left, which includes the piers and any concrete that's adjacent to the abutments. We'll bring the piers down, we'll dig out the footings and crack those out, and start cleaning up. We'll have a night shift coming in as well tonight, the same boys that were in here last night, and then we'll be back during the day and have this thing ready to rock.
We brought out some of our very talented and highly experienced workers from Toronto. Started the job on night shift with all of the guys. We're just gonna finish the last span and fail it so that all the stuff's on the ground, and then it'll be easier for them to finish processing, sorting, and stockpiling the material.
As we were here, they're just taking the last part of the bridge down. It's pretty cool to see.
It was pretty easy coming in. Night shift did a lot of the hard stuff for us, but yeah, it's been pretty smooth. Everyone's jiving pretty good. So Rob definitely gave us some pointers. He's done quite a few bridges, so he's a good guy to learn from.
It's been a long day. We've just been getting this bridge off the road, and it's literally one truck after the other. I've lost count.
All right, here we are wrapping up at the first section of the 4 bridges we're taking down on Deerfoot here in Calgary, Alberta. We're really proud of all the guys and the way that everybody brought it together here. This was a real group effort. It took everybody's A game, and everybody performed well. We can't say enough about the operators, right down to the laborers. Everybody pulled their weight, and it shows in the work that we produced and the final product that we have here.
Great team effort. We had a great cooperation between the Ontario guys, the Alberta guys. Very happy with how the team has performed and very happy with how this has turned out.
Class. Absolute top notch. Said it before and I'll say it again. Probably the ultimate test of a demolition company is an overnight possession like that, where you're doing what you do, but you're doing it against the clock. Impressive. I was quite impressed to begin with, where I had a message here from our friend Mahmood, who says love from Bangladesh, but then he said he wants to work here. We get a lot of those. Can't help you with that, Mahmood, but good luck nonetheless. Let's have a look. What have we got here? Talking about that. Have you ever thought of doing a show with Priestly? I've thought about it a lot. And I keep coming back to the fact that I'd much rather go to Canada than do it at a distance. Canada is the very, very tippity top of my bucket list. Never been. Hope to go. Would love to go and meet Priestly in face to face. Really would. If somebody can make that happen, hit me up. You know where to find me. Steve says, "What a job site to arrive at, and your job is to take down a bridge." Yeah, yeah. Imagine the feeling that you arrive, particularly as they had guys coming in from various bits of the Priestly organisation, all arriving at the same place, at the same time, and going, "Yeah, we got this. We got this. Fantastic. Proper setup. Service trucks on standby too. Awesome. My kind of weekend," he says. Dan Cullen says they're not pussyfooting around. No, they're certainly not. Again, that's why I said they remind me of Armac. I've said it before. Armac take down a bridge and they pretty much double up on everything. How many excavators to take this bridge down? 6. Let's take 12, because if one goes wrong, we've got another one on standby. Same with attachments, everything else. Absolutely over-engineered to the nth degree. That's how you do it. Love the guitar in the background, and that's what you call teamwork. Yeah, indeed it is. Steve says, good to hear them talk about how happy they are with operators, etc. Something you don't hear in the UK. All management are praised and not the actual hard-working drivers. You know, that actually stood out for me. And it was the 2 or 3 guys at the end. You know, what fantastic teamwork. The operators really brought their A game. What a fantastic tribute to the guys. Because let's face it, all the planning in the world doesn't mean squat. It's the guys that are actually behind the levers that bring that sort of thing home. Canada was mentioned on an evening out in Paris. Was it? Love to go. Canada, I'd love to go. It's cold. It's cool. Great demo companies. Yeah, indeed. It's just, probably one of my favorite YouTubers is a guy called Pete McKinnon. He's an incredible photographer. I'll tell you how good a photographer he is. He took a photograph of a lake at a place called Banff, and the photograph was so good they actually put it on a coin in Canada. That's how good a photographer he is. But yeah, he has shown at a distance, shown us around Canada. Love to go. Absolutely love to go. The American way, yeah, it does feel like it, doesn't it? We did some work with a company at the last Con Expo, a company called Thunder Creek. I may dig out one of their videos at some point, but you go and have a look at Thunder Creek, and they've got these service vehicles that contain your fluids, your oils, your lubricants, your greases, and everything else. But they're a dedicated. That's all that they do. It's just a dedicated trailer that arrives on site. So you know whether you need oil or diesel or grease or biofuel, whatever, it's all contained within one, and it's a sleek looking, chrome finished, just brilliant, bit like an Airstream caravan kind of thing. Proper outfit, to be honest. Great video. Yes, it is indeed. And Canada is the Highlands on steroids. Yeah. I said this the other day, and I honestly, I would strongly recommend, if ever you get the chance to go to Finland, to Sweden, to Norway, or to Denmark, please do it, because they're all lovely, lovely places. But I do remember being stood in Denmark, looking out, not Denmark, Norway, looking out over some fjords, and thinking, that's, man alive, that's just a breathtaking landscape there. Kind of reminds me of Scotland. I could drive to Scotland in a few hours. I don't have to fly anywhere. Yeah, but you're absolutely right. Canada, the Highlands on steroids. I'd love to go. If anybody, Priestly Demolition, Liebherr in Canada, if anybody would like to extend the invitation and get me over to Canada, I'd snatch your arm off. I really would. Enough of my travel plans. We still do have a little bit more to show you, including a new wheel loader, or the new wheel loader series from Case. Maybe they'll be at Hillhead next week as well. Back after this.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
Yeah, this time next week, Hillhead will be closing its doors for another two years. Unbelievable. It's almost upon us. I don't know what Case have got up their sleeves, but I'd like to think that some of their wheel loaders will be there. They look like this.
G'day everyone, today we're going to look at the Case Construction G-Series wheel loader. All Case Construction wheel loaders utilise an FPT engine for greater fuel efficiency. The Case exclusive cooling module allows all coolers access to clean ambient airflow, increasing cooling efficiency. This industry-leading operator environment features reduced noise and curved glass for maximised visibility. If you'd like to explore more about the G-Series range of wheel loaders, visit our website or go to your nearest Case Construction dealer.
There you are. Case wheel loaders. Sorry, I was just watching a demolition video over on LinkedIn. My apologies, I'm slightly distracted there. Yes, Case Construction, G-Series wheel loaders. Let's hope they are at Hillhead next week, because I'll get to have a closer look. Speaking of Hillhead, this. Now, we always end this show with a snippet from those fine folks at MB Crusher, who very kindly are our main show sponsor here. But it's about time we featured them ahead of next week. Now, I've never been to MB Crusher, always planned to, never got round to it. I've always thought of them quite small, very specialised, but, just making attachments, quite, almost like not quite a garden shed, but quite a small operation. I was miles off. Have a look at this. Cracking video. Premium attachments, says Steve Williamson. I am inclined to agree, and not just because they sponsor the film, sponsor this show. Very quick one, and I do think this is one to take into the chat in just a moment. Mick Norton says, when I was working in British Columbia in 1971, I foolishly complained to my seasoned Canadian mentor that my PowerShift TD25 had a bloody rope-operated blade. I was rapidly put in my place with 2/3 of Canada's roads were first put in with rope blades. Indeed, Dan Cunners just said, cracking tune. But back on the subject of this. When you think about the British road network, when you think about the British rail network, when you think about the British canal network, most of that was put in place. Most of it was put in place ahead of major mechanization, and even when it was mechanized, it was very early doors mechanization. So some of the later motorways were put in with scrapers and stuff like that. But when you go back to certainly the construction of canals, it was Irish navvies that did the job. Okay. The canals, hundreds of years later, still work perfectly well. I know because I'm going fishing at one in the not too distant future, all things being equal. But here's the thing, and this is not being me being anti-technology by any means, but we now have highly efficient, I do mean highly efficient machines that can be operated autonomously or via remote control or via highly trained and highly competent operators. They have every luxury on them, including things like GPS, tilt rotators, quick couplers, laser leveling, machine driver or driver aids, all of these things. And yet today, all of our major construction works seem to run late, run over budget, and seem to hit issues at some point. Either think of the M25, which was the last major motorway to be built. It opened and then it closed, and then it opened again, and then they closed bits of it to make it wider, and they closed bits of it to make it smart, and they closed bits of it to make it wider still. Have we? I know the equipment's progressed, and I'd like to think that the operators of today, with all the training and the competence cards and everything, I'd like to think that they are at least as competent, if not more so, than their forebears. Have we progressed as an industry? Yeah, have we? I don't know. Peter McKenna says, hello. He says, hello. He says, I'm running a late clock in machine. He's an hour fast, so I thought it was 10 a.m. now. Surely by now, Mr. McKenna, your body clock should be saying that pillock in the hat should be started talking about now. The machines are brilliant and efficient. It's the mismanagement that's fucking useless. Yeah. And just taking that a stage further, you think back to the companies. I need a pen. I always need a pen to wag in the air. You think back to the companies that did a lot of that work. Just off the top of my head, do you think about a company like Blackwell's? Okay, so Blackwell's ran a big scraper fleet, all of their own. They owned it. They operated. They're operators on scrapers, on dozers, and things like that. You look at the way things are done now, and you have these multi-tiered. So you've got, maybe government at the very tippity top, and then you've got the highways agency, who then let the job to quite possibly a joint venture operation, who then let part of the earthworks to one company and part of the earthworks to another, who hire in their machines, who then hire in their operators. Anybody else see the problem with that? We didn't have those problems back in the day when it was Blackwell would get the job, Blackwell machines and men would do the job, and Blackwell would hand it back. Dan says, think on it. Back in the day, most tunneling, concrete and groundworks and civils was from Irish heritage. It was. Yeah, it was. Somebody gave me, and unfortunately I gave it to somebody else. Somebody gave me a book, oh, blimey, 5-6 years ago, on the construction of the M1. And, you're talking literally thousands of, it's what they were called, Irish navvies, guys from Ireland came over, flat cap on their head, fag in their mouth, arse hanging out their jeans, and they built the M1. Look at the M1, the first of our major motorways, and probably, I wouldn't say the best, because the M40 is a lot easier to go from south to north or vice versa, but it stood the test of time. And then when you look at HS2, can barely get it off the ground today. And I realise, as Jim has rightly said, I think a lot of it is down to mismanagement at governmental level, at agency level, like the Highways Agency. But I do think the industry has got a case to answer as well. Too many twats firing off emails trying to justify their job. That does seem to be the job now, doesn't it? How many emails? I don't know how big on email you lot are actually, but I'm certainly here. I get somewhere between 80 and 100 emails a day. And once you've taken out the junk, which is most of it, take out the junk, I reckon more than 3/4 of the emails that I receive are basically what I refer to as CYA, cover your ass. Nobody has actually done anything, but they're telling everyone about the thing to prove that they're aware of the thing. That they've not actually moved anything forward, but they've put a piece of paper into the paper trail that says, I did a thing, I am on the ball, but you've not done anything. I feel technology is partially to blame for the mismanagement. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Which came first, technology or mismanagement? Or is mismanagement just relying on technology to cover up its mismanagement? In bygone days, the traditional gang could tackle every aspect of his canal, viaduct, railway construction. Fast forward to 2024, and most managers are in positions above their ability. Yeah. All I would say is the same as it ever was, and not peculiar to construction. In my line of work, there are those what claim to be editors who are about as far from being an editor as I am from being a rocket scientist. Back in the day, you had hardworking people. Now there are lots of idiots. Lots of idiots. I'm just going to stand up for the Irish contingent in the house here. We've always had jokes about the Irish being stupid. And yet, we outsourced most of our infrastructure to them. All the infrastructure that the Irish built seems to work perfectly well. All of the stuff we're trying to do ourselves, not so much. Just saying. Peter McKenna says the M6 at Preston was the first stretch of motorway, 8-mile stretch originally called the Preston Bypass. I did not know that. Jim Turner says, my dad was on the M1 and on the M25. Firms had sections of their own to get done. Yeah, they did. And it seems weird now, but I mean, bearing in mind, for those of you that don't know, and I'm sure you all do, the M25 is basically a circle. It's not a very well-drawn circle, but it's a circle around London. Obviously, today, you could literally set off from one point and you could go all the way around and come back on yourself. That's not how it started. I remember going to the opening of the Surrey section back when I was on Contract Journal, and I think the Surrey section was, 30 miles long. But there was a dead end. There was actually a dead end. And I realised that's how it was planned. But it was individual companies taking care of individual bits. I'd love to know who took care of the bit around about the Wisley interchange, because it's a concrete section. And every time I drive on it, including last night, makes you think you've got a flat tyre. Horrible bit of road. And I feel it's also down to a maximum 9 hours days as it's slowing progress and woke workers as not my job. Maybe. And management now have been promoted too fast to have no clue. How can a scaffolder become a site agent just because they passed a course? Come on. Yeah. How we used to laugh at the health and safety executive. There was always that thing, picture of lady with a clipboard. I don't know how to do your job, but I'm going to tell you how to do it anyway because I've got a book. Which was, when it was an outsider, that was quite funny, sort of. But now that is the thing, and unfortunately, it's in every bit of the organisation. You've got senior people, or you've got people at senior levels running training courses to train people in my instance, train them in demolition, having never worked in demolition. Can you really? Can you? I could teach you. I say that, I've never really thought about it, but I'm doing this on the fly. I could probably teach you pretty well how to live stream. I have done 739 of these shows. I've done about 1,000 shows all told. So I've done a lot. But I'm not the best person to tell you how to do it. There are people that have really studied this shit. I'm just a self-taught. Am I really the best person? Is somebody that's learned from a book how to do demolition? Are they the best person to impart their knowledge? Mick Norton says, my great-grandfather was a Welsh ganger on the Fourth Rail Bridge in construction in the 1880s, and my dad said he wore a bowler hat and had a formidable right hook. I love the idea of the bowler hat. I've always quite fancied a bowler hat. There's a charity shop just down the road from where I am, and they had one in the shop the other day, well, maybe 6 months ago, and I saw it and I thought, I'm having that. I best try it on, but it sat on the top of my head like a pimple. Far too small. But yeah, I wouldn't mind a bowler hat. Always liked Laurel and Hardy. Still some of the funniest things I've ever seen. I've known cleaners that have become black hats, knowing nothing about construction apart from the lads tramp shite off site for them to clean it up. Yeah. And it's not just that, is it? I mean, we're all sat here decrying those people that are not necessarily equipped to do their job. But what is the knock-on of that? What is the knock-on of that with their lack of credibility? If you're working on a construction site or a demolition site and you're being told what to do by somebody who clearly doesn't know their arse from their elbow, just how inclined are you to follow their lead? I think in demolition, certainly in the UK demolition industry, because of the abundance of family firms, I think traditionally that's been less of a problem because, son learnt from father learnt from grandfather, and it's all, inherited knowledge, proven and everything else. But now, given the advent of competence cards, given the advent of training schemes and competencies and training organizations and everything else, that doesn't seem to matter quite so much anymore. And I know what I'd be like, if somebody came in here and said, I've learned journalism or I've learned live streaming from a book, and I'm now going to tell you where you're going wrong. My shutters are already down. I'm not taking a blind bit of notice of them, which is okay for me because I'm sat in an office by myself, not doing anyone any harm. What about out on a demolition or a construction site where you pull down the shutters because somebody is a pillock? Does that not make the site less safe? Just asking. And you've got people training plant operators with only a year or two experience. How does that work? How does that work? I think one of the things that comes up in conversation, I think this is one of Jim's notions, may have been Steve Williamson, I can't remember, but I know somebody has said this in the past. The idea of let's get a card to get you on site, but then you get your next card after you've knocked off the rough edges over about 3 or 5 years. You've actually been out, you've been on various different sites, you've actually learned what to do, you've seen proper construction, you've seen proper demolition, you've operated in the rain, you've operated in the snow, you've operated in tricky conditions, and you come back and somebody says, yep, we've been watching you, either remotely or on a day-to-day basis. Here's your card, well done, you are now competent. We not you're competent, go to work and then come back when you're competent, and then we'll give you a card to back that up. Men in donkey jackets built the world. I'd quite like a donkey jacket as well. My dad had a donkey jacket years ago. Really heavy. Did anyone ever put a donkey jacket on? Really bloody heavy they were. I remember a job a young manager said, this has to be 9 mil, 25 mil deep. I said, where does it say? He said he had a book. He was going by the book, but he didn't see the 500 millimeters of shingle or leeway of 50 mil. I think I followed that. I told him to go back to school. If they ain't got a clue, it's a dangerous safety aspect as well. Exactly my point. Exactly my point. One of the things that we've mentioned here in the past is people attending safety briefings and toolbox talks with a limited or no understanding of English. So they're not getting the message. If somebody is talking to you and what they're telling you is complete bollocks, and you decide, oh, I'm really not listening to that, that's the same thing. You're not listening, and therefore you're not getting the message, and therefore surely that makes you less safe because you're not getting the message. As long as there is LinkedIn or Facebook, say there this, that looks good. There are too many false shit on social media saying you're this or that when you're not. Why is this? The problem today, I think we've really bought into, as a society, I don't mean as an industry, but I think as a society, I think we've bought into the whole notion of fake it till you make it. If you claim to be an expert in something, sooner or later somebody may well believe you and may even pay you to prove that you're the expert in that. And things like, if I, bearing in mind I'm sat behind a camera and a microphone, I could sit here and tell you that I'm a really, really good excavator operator, or a good wheel loader operator, or a dozer operator. I'm none of those things. I'm terrible at all of them, but I could tell you that, and I could make my Facebook look like I'm that. But the moment I set foot on site and get behind the wheels or the levers of a machine, you would know instantly that not only am I not a good operator, but I'm a really, really bad liar as well. The problem, I think, with a lot of social media and that kind of thing is you never get to see that second part. You do have people claiming they are this, that, or the other. We've got people claiming they're expert drivers. Clearly they're not. In my business, I've got people claiming they are magazine editors. They are clearly not. They've never written a word in their life. They have no background whatsoever in the industry. But if you go online and look at their profile, you would think that they were God's gift to the world of journalism, or plant operation, or equipment management, or demolition, or whatever it might be. It's all fluff. It's all fluff. Who's this? Peter McKenna says, HGV examiner at Kirkland Preston has never held an HGV license. It's not right, is it? It's not right. I just take that to the extreme. Take that to the extreme. Imagine going to school and you are required to take French, and your French teacher can't speak French. That's a bit of a problem, isn't it? It's like me doing your job for one day, then put on my social medias I'm a publisher. Hey, listen, Steve, you wouldn't be the first, mate. You really wouldn't be the first. And this show and me as a person, we're a spent force. There is a new force in town, with all of their years experience. Fuck off. Steve says, like me driving a car at a show and saying a cat driving it. It's like me driving a cat at a show then saying I'm a cat demo driver. What show? I mean, why they have to change their job description to show what? There is this theory, isn't there? I don't have to deal with it. I've had stalkers and abuse and stuff like that, but I just don't bother with it anymore. But there is this notion on social media, on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, and all these platforms, that when people are abusing you, it's kind of a reflection on themselves. They're projecting their insecurities onto you. You're Steve, you get to go to ConExpo, you must be sleeping with the boss, or you get to go to Bauma, you must be doing it for nothing, or you must know somebody in high places, or all these things. Never mind the fact that you're really good at what you do. None of that comes into it. And I would say exactly the same as about the way that people describe themselves online. I think if you're constantly bigging yourself up, to my mind, that suggests that you are more than a bit insecure. I'm hoping my wife's not listening to this bit, but I'll tell you a story. My wife's sister, very first time I met her, literally said out loud, "Oh, you should go for a night out with me. I'm crazy, I am." You've never met a less crazy, more vanilla person in your entire life. I think it's a cover. I think it is absolutely a cover. It's an insecurity they have. I'm not successful enough. I'm not famous enough. I'm not well known enough, and therefore I will either deride those that are ahead of me, or I will just lie. I look at my publishing empire. Look at my abilities behind the levers. It's nonsense. Stuff and nonsense. It really is. Well, as I say, not hard to pull levers and sit on a seat, but using initiative and listening is key. Many cannot do that now. No, you're absolutely right. Garvin just joined us over on the Instagrams. Employers must take most of the responsibility in allowing duff training providers and card schemes to deliver incompetent operators. In my experience, employers opt for the cheapest, quickest route to a ticket at the expense of quality. Complain all we like about CITB, CSCS and Build UK, but the only legal requirement for competence of employees lies firmly with the employer. It's a good point. It's a very good point. And I said on multiple occasions, why not standardise the rates to the actual experience of individuals? As I see everyone is in it for the highest rate, and yet they're useless. Goes back to bearing in mind that we're talking about cars now that are smart. If you've got a competence car, most of them have got a chip in them now. So not on their shoulder, they've got a chip in the card. So you could quite easily do that. You could set the rate of pay according to your skills. So if you are still wet behind the ears, a little bit green, you've just got your card to prove you can drive a site dumper, you're on one wage. If you can drive a dozer and an excavator and a site dumper and a wheel loader, you get the next rate. It's not hard. In my eyes, they just look stupid. I laugh at it all the time. Yeah, well, as I say, I don't even bother laughing. I've literally just gone through, particularly LinkedIn, because it's absolutely rife there. I've just gone through LinkedIn and just gone unfollow. Just got rid of them. Don't care what they're doing. I had a phone call the other day talking about the Worthing Advertiser. Have you seen their latest issue? I haven't seen their latest issue. I haven't seen any of their issues because I don't care. They don't exist in my. It goes back to what I said earlier. It would be like your lion, the leader of the pack, the head of the pride, worrying about what a sparrow in a tree is doing. I don't care. They're just over there. I tell everyone I'm shit, says Ben McKenna. That way, if I don't live up to someone's expectations, I've already pre-warned them. Yes, under promise and over deliver. That's my ethos as well. It's the whole I've done this, I've drove that, but there was an agency working on the ground picking up rubbish. Yeah, whatever, mate. Stop with the shite. Yeah, stop with the shite. But there are people. And I do think that social media has encouraged this, this desire for vanity metrics. You need your 100,000 followers on Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever it might be, and you live for that. Don't care. So it doesn't mean anything. Going back to Dan's point about setting the rate. If I was paid according to the number of YouTube subscribers I've got, happy days. I'd be doing. I'd be like a pig in shit right about now because I'm doing very, very well. Doesn't mean that. It just means that we've got 110,000 subscribers. Means nothing. Means nothing at all. I finally got the rate I'm looking for, as in starting directly with this company Monday week, 26 an hour, and they've seen my work ethics. Don't want me to go anywhere for anything else. Steve says £150 for a tractor ticket. Apparently, I heard today, 1 hour or less course. Yeah. Now, which side of that deal would you rather be on? Would you rather be the tractor driver who's paying the £150 for an hour, Or would you rather be the person that's telling him what to do for an hour and getting £150? I know which side I'd rather be on. Jim Turner says, I'd gladly be put on a wage related to what I can do. I'd also like to be back on bonus again. Yeah, wouldn't we all? Wouldn't we all? I think we've done enough of this. And I do need to take my good lady wife for a cup of coffee. So I'm not even going to bother rolling the outro. I'm just going to go back because we did have a question of the day which related to fancy dress costumes and all of that. And I don't know if we had any answers at all. Let's have a look, see if we have. Still trying to get over Dan Collin talking about porridge and custard together. Yes, I do want to remind you of this. Sorry, Jim, and I did mean to do this. I wish I could go to this, I have to say, but wife freshly back from her holiday bobs, so I'm going to be seeing her this weekend. There should be plenty of vintage cats at Sibbertoft this weekend. If you'd like to spread the word, charity muck shifting weekend, Cat Link Club. Yeah, it is. We've actually featured this Sibbertoft event on this show in the past. Lots and lots of vintage plant, all operating and looking damn fine. Wish I could go. I can't. Jim's going. Hopefully, with he'll be taking a camera with him. And Jim, remember, that way round, not that way round, or that way round. Do it that way, and then send us the footage, and we'll see what we can do with it. Chris Ford says, not one for fancy dress, but the old DJ has seen some service, and one of my old employees requested orange high vis at his funeral, which caused a few raised eyebrows. Yes, I bet it did. It's one of those things. If you're close family or your close friends, and you knew that was the deal, you probably think, well, that's wholly appropriate. If you're sort of a distant relative who's just made the journey to be at the funeral and everybody turns up in orange high vis, you'd think, hang on, am I in the right place here? That's a good point. Let's have a look. I think that was about it for the fancy dress. I'm fairly sure I saw another one, but I can't actually find it here. No, I can't see it. And my apologies for that. If anybody else has answered that. Question of the day. Peter McKenna says, I used to be an undertaker and preacher in a Western show team. I was also a pretty fast draw, winning many trophies in a 10-year period. Don't mess with Peter McKenna. Jim, says Garvin, is that event on Saturday or Sunday? We're talking about Sibbertoft. Jim, is it on Saturday or Sunday? I'm sure you can find it online, but if you have the answer to that, let me know. At my funeral, everyone will be wearing caps. We're just going to supply them yourself, are you? Question of the day. I've also dressed as a woman after having a switch party. I've met you, Peter. I think you're a very handsome man. I think you'd make a terrible, terrible woman. Jim Turner, in answer to Garvin, says it's on both days, Saturday and Sunday. So I will say the same to Garvin as I said to Jim. If you do get along, take a camera. Horizontal, not vertical, but portrait. No, landscape rather than portrait. Please, if Garvin, if you get any footage, Jim, if you get any footage, please fire it over. Should have been taking a machine to Sibbertoft, but unfortunately we've not got time. Maybe next year. It's Saturday and Sunday, just to confirm. And Peter says, I was horrendous, pal. I'll stick a pic on WhatsApp. You don't have to. You really don't have to. Dressing up as a woman at a switch party. Yeah, Peter. I'm sure it was a party. Yes. You're speaking to a man who has never, ever worn women's clothing. And on that note, I'm going to end the show. I'll be back tomorrow for the final show of the week. Andy here, who was here earlier, said it's almost Friday. Tomorrow it will be, and then it will be almost time for Hillhead. Just to let you know, for next week, I'll be here on Monday, going to do the Monday show, and then hike it up to Buxton. I'm staying at Nellie's cottage. I'm fairly sure Nellie knows about it, but I'm staying at Nellie's cottage up in Buxton. I'm staying there Monday night and Tuesday night, so I'll be at the show on Tuesday and Wednesday. All things being equal, I will be back here on Thursday. So there's no show Tuesday, no show Wednesday, back on Thursday with the news and the views and anything else that I pick up along the way. So that's next week, but we've still got tomorrow's show to do. So join us if you can. Till then, everybody, go and have a fantastic day. Thank you for all your input, both today and last night, once again. Gilles was good, but you lot were every bit as good, and I'm greatly appreciative of that. So everybody, have a fantastic day. I'll see you tomorrow. Till then, adieu. Au revoir. Goodbye.